Is Floyd going broke his comeuppance for flaunting his wealth in the faces of poor black people? 76% of you guys said yes. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. So let's get to the lawsuit. All right, here we go. 25. Like I said, we're going to do half of this. Okay. Now, the owner, or Steven Espinoza, is the guy that's the face, or the guy that for Showtime. Okay. All right, let's get to it. Okay. This action seeks to recover hundreds of millions of dollars in misappropriated funds and damages resulting from a long-running and elaborate scheme of financial fraud, breaches of fiduciary duty, and conspiracy orchestrated by Floyd Mayweather's plaintiff, or Mayweather former manager and advisor Al Haymon, with the knowing and substantial participation and aid of defendants Showtime Networks and Steven Espinoza. Okay. Mayweather was systematically deprived of a significant portion of his career earnings, at least $340 million, and potentially far more when accounting for lost investment growth, through a complex web of hidden accounts, unauthorized transactions, and deliberate concealment of financial records. Showtime and Espinoza played a critical role in facilitating this misconduct. It is alleged that they diverted funds intended for Mayweather into accounts controlled by Haymon, or his agents claimed that critical financial records for Mayweather's biggest fights were lost or inaccessible, and failed to provide transparency despite clear contractual obligations and repeated requests for accounting, by wiring fight proceeds to accounts not directly accessible by Mayweather, such as an account at First Security Bank of Nevada, held by counsel retained by Haymon, and by later asserting defenses like the statute of limitations while key documents were missing. Showtime and Espinoza enabled Haymon's scheme and stymied Mayweather's efforts to uncover the truth. Okay. From his reported $1.2 billion in career purses, at least $340 million is still missing and unaccounted for. Okay. In addition, Mayweather alleges that Showtime still owes him $20 million from the 2015 Berto fight, a payout that was supposed to come from the proceeds of the Pacquiao fight. So he didn't get paid for Berto, didn't get paid for Pacquiao, and he didn't get paid for Conor McGregor, which is why Conor McGregor was saying, hey, I ain't got paid for my fight yet. Same reason why Jake Paul has like, hey, didn't get paid yet for the fight. Okay. Interesting. Let's continue. Okay, so we go into the party descriptions. We don't need all that. Defendant Steven Espinoza is an individual who served as president of Showtime Sports during the period of the events in question. In that role, Espinoza oversaw Showtime's boxing programming and business dealings, including those involving Mayweather's fights. Espinoza departed Showtime amid its corporate restructuring in or around 23, and has since reportedly joined Al Haymon in his boxing enterprise, illustrating a continued relationship with Mayweather's fiduciary. Okay. Al Haymon, Harvard-educated businessman with a background in the music promotion industry. Al Haymon is known for operating behind the scenes and maintaining extreme secrecy in his dealings. Mayweather considered Haymon a father figure and relied on him to manage virtually all aspects of his finances and contracts. You never, ever do that. You always hire an attorney to oversee the other attorney. You always hire another accountant to make sure that your accountant is doing what they're supposed to do. That's just the nature of the beast. You have to hire somebody else outside to make sure the people you hired are doing their jobs correctly. It's just that simple. This position of trust and confidence made Haymon a fiduciary to Mayweather under California law. Haymon, however, has a reputation for leaving surprisingly few fingerprints on transactions and disclosing as little as possible, even to those he works with. So these are all the people that had hand in the cookie jar, apparently. Okay. Non-party. Jeff Morris, certified CPA and tax attorney who was engaged allegedly by Haymon without Mayweather's informed consent to handle Mayweather's tax and accounting matters. Morris is a signatory or controller on several bank accounts where Mayweather's fight earnings were deposited. For example, an account at First Security Bank of Nevada in the name of Jeffrey Morris Associates was designated to receive revenue from at least one Mayweather fight. Morris's role in the scheme includes facilitating transfers and concealing information at Haymon's direction. Okay. The MGM. Okay. Okay. The MGM Grand was party to certain revenue distribution arrangements, live gate concessions for fight, and HBO was Mayweather's broadcast partner before Showtime. While not defendants here, their contracts and payments are part of the factual narrative. Okay. All right, we get the backstory on Mayweather. We all know it. Blah 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 blah. And in 2004, Mayweather was introduced to Al Haymon, facilitated by Sam Watson, mutual acquaintance known to be Heyman's close associate and liaison in boxing circles. Okay. You're right, because he bought. Remember, Floyd bought his contract out to get away from Bob Arum in Top Rank Boxing. Right. Okay, let's go here. Mayweather and Haymon entered into what Mayweather understood to be a verbal one-year management advisory agreement in around 2005. Under this oral agreement, Haymon would act as Mayweather's manager advisor for a 10% fee. And this split was notably favorable compared to the standard manager fee of often 33% in boxing. Okay. After the one-year term lapsed, no new written agreement was signed, yet Haymon continued in the same role for the next 15 years. Okay. Yeah, Floyd's got an uphill battle with this lawsuit. Okay, this is not going to end well for Floyd, I don't think. I don't think this ends well for Floyd. Okay, let's continue. Okay, Haymon at times represented to Mayweather and others that he never took a dollar from Floyd, beyond perhaps token amounts, even claiming he provided his services out of loyalty or friendship. For example, Haymon would later say he did everything for free for Mayweather, which Mayweather now believes was a deceptive narrative. Over the years, Haymon became deeply embedded in every aspect of Mayweather's professional and personal affairs. Mayweather trusted Haymon implicitly, viewing him as a father figure and referring to him as the godfather of his team. Haymon handled contract negotiations, television deals, sponsorships, and even personal expenditures and investments on Mayweather's behalf. Because Mayweather's focus was on training and boxing, he relied on Haymon's judgment in business matters. This reliance and reposal of trust created a fiduciary duty on Haymon's part to act with the utmost loyalty, good faith, and candor towards Mayweather. Under California law, such a duty arises when one person is in a position of trust and confidence and exercises dominance or influence over the other. Okay, let's continue. Here we go. Significantly, despite handling vast sums of Mayweather's money over many years, Haymon never instituted transparent reporting or independent oversight. No formal accounting statements were provided to Mayweather. Financial records were tightly controlled by Haymon and his chosen affiliates, like Jeff Morris. When questions arose, Haymon often provided reassurances without documentation, and Mayweather, given his trust, often accepted those explanations. Okay. All right, continue. Okay, here we go. Over approximately 2 decades of managing Mayweather, Haymon engaged in a pattern of financial manipulation and self-dealing behind Mayweather's back. These schemes include diverting portions of Mayweather's fight earnings under false pretenses that Haymon then kept or controlled, routing fight revenues into secret documents that Mayweather did not know about or have access to, paying himself and his associates large sums from Mayweather's funds without authorization, and concealing or altering documentation to cover up these activities. Banking records show a pattern of large transfers from the above accounts to Allen Haymon Development and other Haymon-owned entities. These transfers were labeled as repayments or loan payoffs, falsely suggesting that Haymon had advanced money to Mayweather at some earlier time, which was now being reimbursed. Mayweather insists he never received such loans from Haymon. The effect was to systematically move Mayweather's earnings into Haymon's coffers under false pretenses. Okay. Additionally, records show numerous one-off payments from Mayweather's accounts directly to Haymon or Morris. These include transactions on dates unconnected to any fights, with memos like Mayweather expenses. No clear description in amounts such as $12 million, $15 million, $3 million, $9 million. Each of these represents Mayweather's monies being paid out without his authorization or benefit. Mayweather never approved paying Haymon such bonuses or fees beyond the agreed 10%, and certainly not paying his accountants Morris multi-million-dollar sums. Such payments, if they occurred, were clear misappropriations. Let's go here. Haymon took great pains to ensure Mayweather remained unaware of these accounts and transactions. This is corroborated by statements from insiders that Haymon only permitted Floyd to see what Haymon wanted him to see and actively hid documentation. In one communication, Haymon directed Morris to send Floyd only the signature pages of contracts or forms with Haymon's handwritten notes and explicitly said he doesn't want Floyd to see the documents. Haymon's aversion to leaving a digital trail extended to how he communicated instructions. Pay attention to how this guy operates. He often relied on fax transmissions and in-person meetings rather than emails. In fact, when a subpoena for Haymon's deposition was served in related litigation, his counsel represented that Mr. Haymon does not own or operate a computer. Underscoring Haymon's deliberate avoidance of traceable electronic communication. By using faxes and avoiding email, Haymon made it harder to later uncover written evidence of his directives. This old school approach was part of what one associate called working in the Flintstone ages, and it served the purpose of secrecy well. On at least one occasion, Haymon or his agents allegedly altered a document to conceal wrongdoing. Mayweather's representatives have an example of a fax authorization form in which the date appears to have been manually altered, whited out, and rewritten to misrepresent when it was signed. Okay, here's where it gets crazy. Following Haymon's suffering a medical issue, he had a stroke in late 23. There was a sudden exodus of key members of Mayweather's camp. 5 of Mayweather's longtime lawyers abruptly retired or withdrew from representation within a 3-month span. Do you see what's going on here? So when Al Haymon had the stroke, it was pretty bad because people thought he was going to die. Everybody left. Okay. This timing raised suspicion that those individuals may have been aware or complicit in aspects of the hidden scheme and chose to distance themselves once Haymon was incapacitated and the situation risked exposure. To date, many records remain missing. Indeed, when Mayweather's new team asked Showtime in 2024 for documentation of fight revenues and expenses, they were told that some records, for example, the payout spreadsheets or deal memos for the Pacquiao-McGregor fights, were lost in a flood or stored off-site and not readily accessible. What flood did y'all hear about that Showtime suffered where documents were lost? Nasty work. Let's continue. Whether or not such a flood occurred, the end result is that documentation that would clearly trace the flow of money to and from Mayweather for his biggest fights is conveniently unavailable. Okay, but Showtime's based in New York, sir. I'm just saying, Showtime's based in New York. So I don't think Katrina would have anything to do with that. I'm just saying. I don't recall any major businesses on Showtime's level being affected by Hurricane Katrina. Okay? I'm just saying. Let's continue. So here's where Showtime comes in. Starting in 2013, Mayweather entered an exclusive multi-fight deal with Showtime, leaving HBO. This deal, the richest in boxing at the time, made Showtime the broadcaster of Mayweather's fights and a key financial intermediary. Under the Showtime contract and subsequent event agreements, Showtime was responsible for collecting pay-per-view revenues and other fight income, deducting certain agreed expenses, and then dispersing the proceeds, purses, and bonuses to Mayweather or his designated entity, Mayweather Promotions. Espinoza, as head of Showtime Sports, personally negotiated with Mayweather's team and oversaw these events. The Mayweather-Pacquiao fight in May of... This was 10 years ago. For example, was a Showtime, Viacom, and HBO co-production with a detailed distribution agreement governing who got paid what. Similarly, Mayweather-McGregor in 2017 was handled by Showtime. Thus, Showtime Espinoza were in a position to know exactly how much money was generated and where it was directed. Yeah, what flood? Oh, he's being facetious. My bad. It's hard with the comments sometimes. I get you though. And instead of paying Mayweather directly or into an account under Mayweather's sole control, Showtime, at the direction or request of Haymon Ellerby, that's Leonard Ellerby over at PBC, right? Leonard Ellerby, another black man, right? At the time, Wired Mayweather's share of fight proceeds to the first security account of Mayweather's tax counsel, Jeff Morris. For instance, in the Pacquiao fight, the distribution agreement designated that Mayweather's purse and upside would be paid to an account at First Security Bank of Nevada in the name of Jeff Morris, with Morris as signatory. Showtime complied with that direction. By doing so, Showtime effectively delivered Mayweather's money straight into Heyman's hands, since Haymon controlled Jeff Morris's actions. Given the size of the transfers, hundreds of millions of dollars, and the unusual nature of paying a fighter via a third-party lawyer's trust account, they should have raised red flags within Showtime. On information and belief, Steven Espinoza and other Showtime executives were aware that Al Haymon was the de facto controller behind those accounts. Indeed, Espinoza publicly acknowledged that Haymon often stayed in the background and let others, like lawyers or promoters, formally handle business, a pattern dating back to Heyman's concert business days. As Mayweather's distribution partner, Showtime had contractual duties to provide an accounting for of event revenues and expenses. However, when Mayweather's new management team, led by Richard Schaefer in 24, requested detailed breakdowns for the Pacquiao and McGregor fights, Showtime was unable or unwilling to produce them. In correspondence emails in November 24 to Showtime and Paramount Finance personnel, including Kane Milverton and Elsie Fogarty, Schaefer itemized serious discrepancies. For example, expense reimbursements charged against the Pacquiao fight totaling millions of dollars that appeared inflated or unsupported, and a mysterious $20 million reimbursement for the Andre Berto fight that was paid out of the Pacquiao fight funds. These inquiries implied that someone had used the huge Pacquiao revenue pool as a slush fund to pay unrelated costs like the Berto payout or excessive expenses that benefited Heyman's operation, possibly including large fees to Haymon or his companies. Rather than provide transparency, Showtime's response was that many records were not readily available. Haymon claimed that certain documents were lost due to a flood in a storage facility, while Showtime claimed that the records had been moved off-site when Showtime Sports was downsized. Okay. Here's a kicker. You ready? After Showtime exited the boxing business in 23, they shut down, right? They stopped. There's no more. Steven Espinoza quickly aligned himself with Heyman's Premier Boxing Champions, PBC. In December 23, reports emerged via Boxing Insider Rick Glazer that Espinoza had been hired by Al Haymon to help run PBC's new broadcasting deal with Amazon Prime. This move cast a retrospective light on Espinoza's actions during the Showtime years. It suggests that Espinoza may have had a motivation to keep Haymon, a powerful supplier of content and now his future boss, happy, even if it meant turning a blind eye to irregularities. For example, in a Washington Post interview, Espinoza downplayed Heyman's secrecy, stating Haymon doesn't need to be seen and that he stayed in the background even in the music business. Espinoza's familiarity with Heyman's methods supports an inference that Espinoza knew Haymon and was likely doing things unconventionally, if not improperly, with Mayweather's money, yet Espinoza did nothing to alert Mayweather or intervene. Okay, let's go here. After receiving Schaefer's 2024 inquiries, Showtime involved its legal department. Instead of cooperative stance, Showtime raised the specter of the statute of limitations, suggesting that any claims related to the fights as far as back as 2015 might be time barred. This position is deeply ironic because the only reason Mayweather did not discover the issue sooner was the elaborate concealment, missing records, falsified statements, trust in his fiduciary. California law tolls the statute of limitations in cases of fraudulent concealment or where the plaintiff is unaware of the facts due to the defendant's wrongful acts by attempting to hide behind time limits while having contributed to the delay in discovery. Showtime essentially confirmed its complicity. This is bad for Floyd, man. This is bad for Floyd. Let's go. Okay. Let's go here. Silence despite not. Okay. Espinoza and others at Showtime who had detailed knowledge of the fight finances did not speak up to Mayweather even when things looked irregular. For instance, they never queried Mayweather, did you authorize these inflated marketing expenses? Or should this $20 million for Berto really come out of your share? Post hoc obstruction, when confronted, they offered excuses and legal defenses instead of full cooperation. Okay. The financial harm to Mayweather is massive, as noted. At least $340 million of his earnings have been misappropriated or remain unaccounted for. This is money Mayweather earned through blood, sweat, and tears in the ring, including the historically lucrative Pacquiao fight, which alone should have netted him roughly $240 million. Beyond the principal sum, the lost investment potential is enormous. Even a conservative index fund might double money every 7 to 10 years. So that $340 million could have easily grown to over $1 billion in a decade. Mayweather's ability to generate such income again through fighting is limited, as he is now semi-retired and 48 years old. Thus, the opportunity cost is irretrievable, warranting a significant amount of prejudgment interest and/or loss of use damages on top of the raw amount. Okay. Let's go here. In addition to money damages, Mayweather seeks injunctive relief in the form of a full forensic accounting and constructive trust. He asks that the court order defendants to provide a complete accounting of all revenues and expenses for his fights under Showtime and all communications with Haymon or his entities regarding distributions. A constructive trust should be imposed on any such funds or any assets purchased with the misappropriated money to ensure that they can be recovered for Mayweather's benefit. Nasty work. Okay, so then it goes into the definitions. Break down part of the case. Okay, pretty much a recap. I kind of low-key feel bad for the guy, but at one point, Floyd was like, I'm the boss. Remember, he was bragging about that $100 million check that he didn't cash. Like, I don't know why you holding on to it. Why would you not cash it or not deposit it? I don't know. Like, it's kind of hard for me to feel bad for Floyd, but shit. Okay, the aiding and abetting defendants are jointly and severally liable for the damages caused by the breach. Thus, Showtime and Espinosa are liable for the full amount of damages that flowed from Haymon's breaches, the same $340 million in consequential losses described earlier, because their participation was the proximate cause of that loss. Had they not aided Haymon, the breach might have been prevented or mitigated. Second cause of action, civil conspiracy to commit fraud. This is against Showtime. Like, once again, he's going after Showtime and Stephen Espinosa. He cannot directly attack Al Haymon. Okay? This is the only way he can get to Al Haymon. Okay? Is by putting pressure on Showtime and Stephen Espinosa and hoping they would crack. Okay, this is all just a recap. Yeah, this is all just a recap. Okay, this is pretty much it, y'all. Okay, let's go online and see what they're saying.
And have all fighters back and say, these guys need to be treated fair.
Floyd, how important is it for you to stick up for fighters of all races? You seem to really frame that a lot in your conversation, that it's not just about a black or a white or a Mexican. You seem to care about boxing as a whole. Talk to us about that.
I mean, of course, because I have fighters from all walks of life. And you know what's so crazy that I laugh at every day? When sometimes they write these stories, they say, Mayweather Promotions, only fighter they got is Tank. If y'all think that, if y'all believe that, y'all can believe whatever y'all want to believe. Meaning that a fighter can't say, I'm doing business with Al Haymon, but I'm not doing business with Floyd Mayweather. Or I'm doing business with Floyd Mayweather, and I'm not doing business with Al Haymon. That PBC could be Pretty Boys champion. But we don't really want to tell y'all that. But, you know, Floyd, it is what it is.